Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Spincast. Today, we are diving back into collegiate esports. Joining us is Dan WORT. He is the director of esports at Bethel University. So without further ado, Dan, go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us kind of where your passions started in gaming and esports and kind of, why you ended up pursuing a job being a director of esports at a university.
Yeah, thanks, Kyle. I appreciate it. So my name is Dan Wirt. I'm the director of esports at Bethel University. Brand new program that we launched this year, which is exciting. And I'm sure I'm not the only school that's launching programs this year. So I'm a little different. I'm coming at it from the business world. So this is my part-time job. I'm the vice president of sales and marketing for a company out of Salt Lake City, beekeeping company, actually, Harvest Lane Honey. So I've got probably 25 years plus years experience in sales, marketing, product development, everything like that. So the director role, the general manager, the overseer role, that comes natural to me.
Mm-hmm.
My kind of the gaming side of it is actually my passion is my 14-year-old son, who is a big time gamer, competitive gamer, has been gaming, streaming for a couple of years. And so initially I kind of got more involved in it just as a connection from a father to a son. And as I started learning about that, I started looking into the business side of it and really realized, wow, this is a much bigger market than I thought it was. And so when Bethel had announced that they were starting an esports program, I'd initially reached out to them kind of late last year and said, that I was interested in possibly being a part of it. And kind of one thing led to another, and Associate AD contacted me in March, and we had a couple interviews, and voila, here I am.
Yeah. Absolutely. Kind of just like, wow, I landed this spot. Now what's
Yeah, exactly.
That's great though. That's great that we're getting, the more business sided kind of approach to esports. Cause that's one of the things I think is missing a lot in esports, especially at that kind of collegiate or lower level, high school and middle school as well, is that, there's a lot of passionate people, a lot of people that understand gaming, but they don't really understand how to run a program, right? Which is so important, especially as it grows and you need dedicated funds, you need dedicated support, you need some kind of managerial support system to really make sure that, the program stays on track and continues to grow. So that's awesome to see you having that background already. But take me into the program at Bethel a little more in depth. What games are you going to play in? What competitions do you plan on competing in? What's that plan to the launch?
Yeah, so we've actually launched already. We have had a couple of official matches. We're competing in 3 different games. So Overwatch, Rocket League, and Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. We've already had a Rocket League match. They kicked off last weekend, and then an Overwatch match last night. And so we're into it now. We were hoping to be able to have another team as well, a League of Legends team, but initially we couldn't field that team right away, and so that's something that I'm working on for 2021 timeframe. But over the summer and spring and summer, we just worked on the development and had some scrims and things like that, and we're participating in a couple of different leagues. One, the ECAC. That most people are pretty familiar with. And then the other one is the GLEC, which is the Great Lakes Esports Conference. And it's about 12 teams that are in Indiana and Ohio.
Awesome.
So,
yeah, that's awesome. I'd love to see that, you're taking off on a quick start, right? You already have multiple games, multiple competitions. That's great because that's just more opportunities for the students, right? Which is ultimately what we want to see is the, students being able to pursue their passions at that next level, which is awesome. My next question kind of goes into, obviously a newer program, you developed it recently. Take me through that development process. Was there any primary focuses that you thought were, either different from what else you've seen or just something that was super important to you to make sure that, you start off on that successful first step, so to say?
Yeah. So one thing that I would strongly encourage anyone, that whether that's a student or whether that's a coach or director in new programs, is expect the unexpected, and to be flexible and be willing to kind of pivot here and there. My vision coming in that I shared with the university was really threefold. One being the varsity program that was already kind of laying the groundwork for. The second was a club program on campus as a way to engage the greater student body and community. And then the third was kind of more like an academic component, whether that was, a class here and there, or working with some other professors and kind of bringing the academic side and the industry side of esports into the forefront. And so over the spring and summer, it was, working on recruiting, working on kind of laying out that process. We offer scholarships for esports, and then the development side was working with a facility we were hoping to have open already. And unfortunately, won't be open until probably about another 6-8 weeks. So we partnered with a local high school to be able to do there.
Yeah, awesome. I love to see that kind of multi-tiered approach. And that's kind of like where my next question comes from is, where is that important? Why is it so important to have that academic side of the esports program to, really bolster that? Why is that important to you? Why did you develop it? And what do you think it provides as an added bonus, added value for the students in your program?
Well, I look at it, and again, I look at it as a standpoint of what can they do outside in terms of jobs. They already have a passion for gaming. Esports and the gaming, it's a big industry. Someone had shared a while ago this picture, and it was just a huge picture that showed all of these different job opportunities within the esports industry, whether it was in human resources, whether it was in marketing, whether it was in product development, game development, engineering, broadcasting. So any type of job that you could get in any other industry is available, in the esports. As a matter of fact, one of my players had reached out to me and said, "Hey, do you think I could maybe work in the esports industry?" And I'm like, "What's your major?" He says, "Data science." I'm like, "Yeah." I said, "Data science, data analytics, anything like that." And so we're going to be working together to try to get him an internship, a remote internship in the spring. But for me, I wanted to tie all of those together. Also as a way to just connect with the faculty, as a way to get support for the program and to show them, hey, it's not just a bunch of kids sitting around drinking Mountain Dew and eating, Cheetos or Doritos or whatever. I said, these kids, there's a lot involved in it. And I've already had an opportunity to speak to a couple of classes and share a little bit about the history of gaming and esports and things like that. So I'm already beginning to make that connection. So it's been good.
Awesome. I love to see that, because that, I always talk about what's the next step, right? Obviously, when you're in college, the next step most of the time is a job, right? And the chance of going pro in esports is so small, and a lot of people realize that. So it's great to see that, already that you're providing that platform and those opportunities so they can stay in the esports industry, which we all love, right? There's nothing better than like waking up and wanting to go to work, right? Because then at that point, like, is work really work? Work's always work, but at the same time, if you like doing it, it's a lot easier to kind of just really immerse yourself in, right?
Right.
I would love to see that. Going back to the whole kind of building process, right? Take me through what that tryout process or recruitment process was of how did you get students into your program, right? Was there any kind of tryout, or just take me through that process of how you kind of filled these teams out?
Yeah, so we kind of started, but I came on board in April, and so kind of late to the process from a recruiting standpoint. A lot of kids had already, committed to schools, and so we had a group of interested students already on campus that I kind of started with, and then I reached out to area high schools in our area. And I said, hey, I put an email together and I said, hey, Bethel's starting an esports program. Do you have any kids that might be interested? And I actually got a couple of kids that way, one of whom was probably my best player on my Overwatch team. So I was kind of fortunate there. Then there was a couple of other individuals that were already planning to come to Bethel as a freshman, that I found out that were also gamers. And so I kind of reached out to them and worked through it. Initially, we were going to have a tryout, but knowing my concern was just the logistics of trying to do that and how long it would take. what I ended up doing is really just had more of, an interview process with them. I spent some time getting to know them. We had them fill out a recruiting form. So I kind of knew where they were at level wise. And then I ended up I had them give me a couple of letters of reference from some people. So I talked with other people just to kind of gauge, how they were as individuals and whether those people thought that they would fit in from a character standpoint. So that's kind of the process that I did, initially, and it seemed to work pretty well.
Awesome. Yeah, it definitely sounds like you got a couple of great teams underneath that program there. Now kind of, before we run out of time here, let's look to the future. So, obviously brand new program, basically just recently launched. What's your vision in, like, let's say 2 years? How many games you want, what kind of competitions you want to play in, and kind of, do you have any particular goals to expand your program to, keep providing this platform and opportunities for your students and players?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. So I talked a little bit about the facilities partnership with a local place here in town. It's a Bendix Arena inside the Century Center, downtown South Bend. They're in the process of building, so we'll have our competition home and practice home there. Eventually, though, we want to raise funds to be able to kind of the second step is to put a practice facility here on campus. We actually already have, I'm inside of our media building downstairs, excuse me, where we have a little streaming studio that I'm kind of putting in. So we're doing that, and then it's equipped with internet, so like our Rocket League players can play here, where there's only 3 or 4 of them, or our Smash Bros team. But eventually, we want to have a practice facility on campus so that our people don't always have to travel back and forth. So that's one. We definitely want to expand the games that we offer. Next year, I'm looking at adding League of Legends, possibly Valorant. But for that to happen, we definitely need more coaching help. So that's certainly a vision. And then, 2-3 years from now, we want to be, known as a quality program that offers students a wide variety of opportunities, whether from the gaming side, the club side, the streaming side, broadcast, everything. We may not be at the competition level that, a Maryville or a Harrisburg or a Boise State or something like that, but we can take some of those the good things and the best practices that some of these other schools are doing and fit them into what Bethel is about and what we're trying to do.
Yeah, absolutely. That's such an important part of having those like multi-faceted programs, right? Having the casters, having the production, having the social media team and all that kind of stuff. It's so important because then you get this like beautiful little program in itself where they can kind of operate by itself. So that's awesome to see.
Yeah, because it's all me mostly right now with a couple of student helps, but that's how we start.
Hey, you got to start somewhere, right? And
Exactly.
obviously, once you get off that, get to that next step, get off your feet, then it just snowballs from there. And I've seen a number of different programs that have been around for 3 or 4 years, and they all started with, the director, which is, universities always love to have like, oh, you can be the director. That means you're going to coach every single team. It's like, well.
Exactly.
I always see that's hilarious because it's like, well, you wouldn't hire an athletic director to coach football, basketball, baseball, soccer,
right.
Swimming, track and field. It's like, what?
Oh yeah.
So that's awesome to see. Kind of looking a little more broad is kind of my last question before we wrap up here is the esports industry is at that collegiate level, right? You have some experience there. What do you hope to see, or where do you hope to see the industry kind of move towards or gravitate towards? Is there any things that you'd like to see change in the competition structures or just the way the industry kind of operates so it can continue to grow? Because there's a lot of great colleges, right? A lot of great universities out there that have great programs, but it's not quite mainstream, right? There's no SEC esports yet, right? There's no SEC esports. So kind of like, what are your thoughts on that as, we continue to move forward?
Yeah, and actually that's a great question because still really new, still learning what's out there. One of the things that I was kind of shocked by and amazed by is just how fragmented the industry is. On the collegiate side, you've got so many different people that are doing a variety of stuff. And I was researching it because I knew we wanted to have, a competition platform. Who are we going to go with? I started researching that aspect, and then I eventually selected ECAC and the GLEC, which provides us with great competition. But then you've got a lot of things on the club side, the CSL and TESPA and all of these other things that are going on that, to me, for a varsity director, it was confusing, and I needed to simplify it.
Yep.
I'm thinking that going forward 2 to 3 years, you'll probably see somewhat of a streamlining there, and having maybe breaking up between, okay, here's 3 or 4 quality programs from a varsity standpoint. Here's more of the club side. You're going to see conferences starting to develop on their own, like we did with the GLEC. You're going to see those, and I think you may start to see that a little bit more as opposed to a national standpoint, because then you've got a little bit more control over your schedules. You're playing the same types of schools that your other athletic programs are playing, so there's that familiarity in that, and that's what I kind of think is going to happen. The conference side, the regional side, but still have opportunities to play some national teams.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, that condensing is so needed because, like you said, like there's so many different places that you can compete in right now. Like it is very confusing, right? It's confusing even from an outside business to just simply follow. It's like, wait,
Yeah.
you're playing on Saturday at 3, and then they're going to play at Saturday at 5, and then tomorrow they're going to like, what?
Yeah.
So I love to see it, then that kind of like follows the question of like the NCAA and their involvement. And I can definitely see them getting involved. There's too much money behind that. But I hope that they leave it somewhat open, right? Because the only thing with NCAA that I fear is that they limit a lot. And the great thing with esports is that you have so much kind of potential for, you can compete every single night, right? It's not football where you have to have a dedicated field and, you're physically exhausted. Obviously you should take a break in esports as well. But there's so many online, and it's really easy to connect with a lot of people, so to say.
Well, and it is, and we've already played and practiced against people from kind of all over the place. And then, interestingly enough, our we're a small Division II NAIA school, and we're going to be participating in a tournament next weekend, and we're playing Indiana University, Purdue University, Butler, and Ball State in Overwatch. Okay. And that's what the beauty of esports is. It doesn't matter whether, you're a D1 school, D2, D3, some of the best programs in the country are small schools. That's the neat part of it. And you can get that connection. Whereas your soccer team's not going to go and play, Duke or North Carolina or Indiana, but hey, we can. Yeah. So that's the neat thing about it too.
Absolutely. And that's just one of the best things. And that kind of great, like it grows the community as well, right? And all of a sudden, esports has become this beautiful community, right? Obviously, excluding the toxic stuff, which hopefully over time kind of rights itself. But so many people in esports just want to see it grow from within, right?
Yeah.
And expand. So, the next generation can have all these opportunities for them. And also just to get more people involved, because it's so fun, right? It's something that at all ages, at all sizes, at all types of people you can play at any level. There's always that online rank system, and you can just follow your favorite competitive, whether it's a college or a local high school or a pro team, right? So I can't wait to see it continue to grow. But sadly, we are out of time. Dan, thank you so much for coming on Spincast with me. Real quick, if you will, go ahead, plug yourself, plug your program. Is there anywhere we can find you on Twitter or websites or anywhere else?
Yeah, absolutely. It's Bethel University. We're at BU Pilots Esports on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram. We're on Twitch. And then it's bupilots.com is our athletics site. And we've got our website in there. There's a recruiting form if kids are interested in looking at our program. And here we go.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Everyone go check them out. I can't wait to see your continued success as you continue to grow from your infancy into that next step a few years down the road, and maybe win a national championship one day.
Hey,
right? That's the goal.
Love it. Love it. Thanks,
Awesome.
Kyle.
Yep. No problem. To our viewers and listeners, thanks for staying the entire time. Stay healthy and stay happy out there. COVID's still going on. Make sure you're careful. Take care of yourself and your loved ones. And ultimately, stay plugged in.